Hello, universe. Welcome to the most spectacular wrestling podcast you will find on the internet. You are listening to Tag Me In, bro. I'm Joe Tantillo, and as always, I'm seated next to my terrific co-host, Taryn O'Connor. Say hi to the people, Taryn.
Hi to the people, Taryn.
If you're new to the show, the format is simple. Each week, we discuss all the magnificent moments, turbulent times, and stunning surprises that professional wrestling has to offer.
So turn your radio up and your opinions down, because we've got some hot tags coming up NXT, which means next.
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
What's up, Tag Me In Bro Universe? Happy Wednesday. I hope everyone's having a great day. I hope everyone else's day was less humid than my day. In New York City, it's decided to be like 100 degrees and like 96% humidity. So it's basically like walking around in a shower. So I, for one, am very happy to be indoors in the AC, and about to talk to you guys about wrestling. And you don't want to miss out on one single second of Tag Me In Bro content. So go on Twitter right now and follow us at Tag Me In Bro, not Tig Me In Bro. That's not our account. We just hit 9,000 followers, and our goal is 10K by Survivor Series, so that we can bring you guys some exclusive content, some merch, and a whole bunch of fun new activities. So go on Twitter, like us, follow us at Tag Me In Bro, and get ready for the show, because it's about to go down in a big way. For anyone who's new to the show, get excited, because today, tomorrow, and every day we are talking wrestling. So first things first, we'll cover our SmackDown speed through, where we will give you guys our analysis of the most important bits of last night's show. Then we'll move on to our Hi to the People segment, where we want to engage with you guys to find out more about your thoughts on a certain topic for the week. This week, our topic is what's next for Carmella. Then we'll move on to our main event, where we will talk about the question on everyone's mind this week, and then we'll close out the show with our stars of the night. This week, the question on everyone's mind is, do you guys think that a face-to-face Becky Charlotte match will work? We're going to discuss like the entirety of that feud and much more later in the show. But without any further ado, let's get to our SmackDown speed through.
Woo! Let me remind you that this is the house that AJ Styles built. I'm going to show the world why I am the franchise player of SmackDown Live.
These are the only 5 things you need to know about SmackDown Live this week. Number 5, Randy Orton versus Jeff Hardy confirmed for Hell in a Cell. Number 4, The Bar beat the Club to advance in the number 1 contender tournament for the Hell in a Cell tag team match for the New Day's Championships. Number 3, Daniel Bryan versus Andrade Cien Almas. Number 2, Carmella has her contractually obligated rematch against Charlotte Flair. And number 1, King Booker interrupts and joins the New Day for their 5-time championship celebration. Okay, so starting with number 5, Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy had like a mutual promo segment where they were able to officially confirm their match for Hell in a Cell. They didn't announce whether or not it would be a cell match. Basically what happened was it started with Jeff, like a close-up on Jeff, who we then found out was in the ring, and him talking about how he feels like he has been rebroken, reborn by fate to be in this match against Randy Orton. Orton came out and was like, listen, it was kind of a similar promo package to things that they've done before, where he's like, I've heard the news, and he finished it with the same way that he has been doing lately, which is the like, you don't have to call me the Legend Killer, you can call me this, you can call me the Viper, you can call me the Apex Predator, but you can only refer to me as like the 3 letters of sports, like the 3 deadliest letters in sports entertainment, RK. And then Jeff Hardy said, no. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. We had to see it coming. So he said, no. And then he said, you're going to hell, Randy Orton. Hell in a cell with me. I'm going with you. But they didn't say like and this match will be in a cage. Like, that part was never expressly confirmed. But I think it was nice that, honestly, I think it was like for TV, they got to bring both of them out. They're big attractions. They have to advertise them for live shows. And that was like a very easy way to confirm that match for Hell in a Cell. I think it will be a great match. And later they announced, the promo photo said it would be a Hell in a Cell match. So I think we can assume it will be. But based on whatever that live crowd got, it was just a little unclear. But I think it'll still be really exciting for that pay-per-view. Number 4, so they're doing the exact same thing that they did during SummerSlam, and they are hosting a tag team tournament to determine the number 1 contenders for the New Day's tag team championships. Obviously, in the last tournament, the New Day won, and that allowed them to go on to SummerSlam to face the Bludgeon Brothers for the titles. This time, we got to see this tournament start off with the Bar versus the Club, and what was a really good match. It got a good, decent length and chunk of time. Their in-ring chemistry I thought was really, really great. It was nice to see the Club in a match. It was nice to see the Bar back, and it worked really well. The Bar won, which I won't lie, was, for me, an unexciting choice. Just because we have seen them in that tag team spotlight, and I think the Club is such a good team, especially I think Carl Anderson had some really amazing moments in that match. So it feels a little hard, it's a hard pill to swallow that they won't be moving forward, and that they did basically job out to a seasoned, already championship holding team. But I think the Bar are an excellent team to move forward in the tournament. They haven't really announced who else is in it. I think we can assume we'll see the Usos as we go forward. But it was just interesting because they said, they advance and they're one step closer, but they were never here are the teams that they're going to face next week, and here are the other groups fighting for it. The only thing that I did see, which maybe I'm wrong about this because maybe it did imply that it was just ready for next week, was that Rusev and Aiden English now have a spot in that tag team tournament match. They went to Paige. They had a whole backstage segment where she was like, oh, they want to be a tag team. Sweet, you'll get that opportunity. I think it'll be fun to see Rusev and Aiden English tag. I don't know how that will contribute to their breakup angle, which looked like it was being set in motion recently. But we'll see. So I imagine we'll see them versus the Bar next week on our way to determining the number 1 contenders. And who knows? Who knows? We've seen Rusev go from the WWE Championship to the SummerSlam pre-show. So truly, I think we can believe anything can happen. Number 3, we had Daniel Bryan versus Andrade Cien Almas in a match I did not expect to see this week on SmackDown Live. They had announced that Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella were going to come out and address The Miz and Maurice and talk a little bit about their scheduled match for Hell in a Cell. And Brie and Daniel Bryan both came out, which was great. Love that Brie got her music played. She looks incredible. She looked like she was a fresh, sprightly 21. Her makeup was perfect. I love her. It's fine. But so they came down to the ring. Daniel Bryan was super sweet and was like, my wife kicks ass. And she was like, you don't need anyone to fight your battles, but I wasn't just going to wait around and let you get, essentially let you get sucker punched because The Miz already cheated and didn't admit it at SummerSlam. All of it works. Who would have thought that Brie Bella would be the most working Bella twin in the WWE right now? But she is. She performed live at their live event in, I think it was Rochester. And she competed with Nikki against the Riot Squad on Monday Night Raw. And now she performed on Tuesday with her husband. So fun. But basically, in the midst of their promo, Zelina Vega came out and interrupted them and was like, my associate, Andrade Cien Almas, he destroyed Rusev. He put Sin Cara on the shelf and he took AJ Styles to his limit. You've already been outsmarted by The Miz. We deserve this opportunity. So the match was set. Paige did a really fun bit where, because she was so late, she pretended she had to run from the other side of the building. Paige is excellent. All of her work's incredible. And she confirmed the match for right then and there, Daniel Bryan versus Andrade Cien Almas. This started off as, again, a great match. Daniel Bryan and Andrade Cien Almas have a lot of great in-ring chemistry. It's awesome for Andrade that they are putting him in what feels like a lot of high-profile matches for SmackDown Live, kind of right off the bat, which is amazing because obviously we've seen a lot of NXT talent buried upon their entry to the main roster. So the fact that he is on week-to-week television is great. Zelina Vega is an incredible manager, which I think kind of went without question, but it was really nice to get to see Andrade and Daniel Bryan in this match. It was kind of a no contest because The Miz came in and got involved and interrupted and beat up Daniel Bryan. I kind of wish we'd gotten to see a winner. I know that part of the point of matches like this is that it gives new talent the ability to like have TV time without either burying them or ruining the kind of status of a legend or someone that they're trying to push, like Daniel Bryan. But in those matches, it does sometimes feel like you're like, oh man, we ruined it. Like, I was excited and I wanted to see it have that finality. But I will say, perfect booking. The Miz gets involved, ruins things for Daniel Bryan. And that's it was kind of the end of that segment. Like, as it devolved, it kind of just went to DQ. And then, at least on my version, like, kind of went to commercial after, which was fine, because after that they had their AJ Styles segment, which we're not going to talk about because it was thoroughly and incredibly unimportant. But moving on to number 2, I guess the last thing I'll say, still great build for Daniel Bryan versus The Miz, which we will see again at Hell in a Cell, I'm certain. Number 2, Carmella had her contractually obligated rematch against Charlotte Flair for the WWE SmackDown Live Women's Championship. Charlotte retained. I don't think that was a question. I don't think anyone expected her not to. I think they did this on TV because, again, it is contractually obligated. Gets it out of the way. Bing, bang, boom. Title match on TV. Great for a live audience. They did let Carmella get in a surprising amount of really strong offense, which I thought was great. I thought it was at moments a little hard to watch because it was so evident that Charlotte Flair was literally carrying her through it. Like, anything that was a little complicated, it was complicated because Charlotte had to like physically pick up Carmella to set it up. And I just think that for a lot of people watching, like, that was potentially sloppily done, in that I felt like that was very obvious, but it was great to see Carmella get that much offense in, just because I don't think we're going to be seeing her for a while. Charlotte won. They gave Charlotte all of her signatures right at the end. We got a spear straight into natural selection, straight into the figure 8. Carmella tapped the figure 8. End of match. And when Charlotte Flair went to go raise her championship, she got beat from behind by none other than Becky Lynch. We had a lot of "We Want Becky" chants during the match, which on some level, great. And I guess playing into that feud, like, where have these chants been for all the months that we still wanted Becky but weren't chanting it at live shows? Becky came in, beat up Charlotte Flair, grabbed the championship, grabbed a mic, and walked over and just kind of said, when I get my way, this championship will be mine. And then she said, you bitch. And it's always wild when girls start dropping that B word around pay-per-view times. It always lets us know that they're serious. But a very interesting conundrum. This got to be the main event. I think that's something that's a little difficult for me, that keeps it from being like probably the high point in the show, is that for some reason they called it a triple header. Like, they couldn't decide which was more important, Daniel Bryan and Bree's promo, AJ Styles' promo, or this literal women's title match. And that does kind of upset me. Call it the main event. It was the main event. It got to go on last. And it was great. It was a really good women's match that, like, had great in-ring storytelling, some great spots, and then, like, it progressed feuds. So I think it was excellent. I wish the company would have just let it stand as the main event. And the number 1 moment of this week's episode of SmackDown Live was something a little silly and a little fun. So basically, the New Day started off the show with a segment about how they are now 5-time tag team champions, and they were interrupted by the introduction of King Booker, and Booker T came down in his King Booker outfit and did his 5-time champion introduction for the New Day, where he was like, I'm gonna put you in this very exclusive club. He gave them all new names except for Big E. So it was like Xavier, the Wise, Kofi, the Brave, and Big E. And Big E was like, why don't I get a great name too? And he was like, because your name already has Big in it. And I don't know, it just made people laugh. Like, it was a fun segment. It felt like the New Day days of old, where like when they were in their like longest reign title run, and they were allowed to have fun. There were fun bits. This kind of broke what is normally the pattern, which is normally the opening promo sets up the main event for SmackDown Live. This didn't, because it didn't have to. And it was nice to just have that kind of light moment, and to get to have that fun. And then they had like a spin off, which was like fun, where they like did I forget what it's called, but the spin something thing, in the middle of the ring, which was fun. It was prime the New Day, like it was great. And then they revealed the New Day announce table where they sat for then the match of the Bar versus the Club. Lots of fun. Great to see the New Day on top. It was everything that we love about seeing the New Day as champions. And I think it kept it a little light, which sometimes on SmackDown, we can get so bogged down in the serious feuds, you know? And there are a couple really serious feuds right now. Like the AJ Styles Samoa Joe one is, you know, it's deep and personal. The Becky Lynch Charlotte Flair one, like it's deep and feels real. And then you got the New Day. And you need, I think, that caliber of lightness. I think it's just as challenging to make something fun and light as it is to get the emotion behind those serious things. So the New Day had our number one moment of the week, and that has been our SmackDown speed through. I know we left a couple things out because it was a chock full show of stuff overall. I thought the show was good. I thought it was worth watching. I think it solidified some stuff for Hell in a Cell, progressed some storylines that we're going to see in Hell in a Cell and beyond. Definitely worth watching. Not necessarily must watch, simply because, as we kind of discussed last week, I think we're still just seeing a lot of feuds progress. We're not seeing a lot of particularly new feuds, so the show doesn't feel as fresh as it could. But if you disagree, or if you agree, let us know your thoughts on social media. And speaking of social media, it's time to say hi to the people. This week on Hi to the People, we want to know your thoughts on where does Carmella go from here. Carmella just lost her rematch for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. So where does she go? What is next for her? We'll be running a Twitter poll for the next 72 hours and then sharing the results here on next week's show. So let us know exactly what you think. You can tweet at us using the hashtag #HotTag. You can vote by following us at TagMeandBro on Twitter and just checking it out. We do a lot of fan predictions and polls. So let us know exactly what you think. Share your thoughts, your opinions, comment, and maybe have your thoughts read out on the show. Every week we read out some of our favorite responses. And speaking of responses, this brings us to the results of last week's topic. So last week we asked you guys, should there have been any NXT call-ups in the post-SummerSlam episodes of SmackDown or Raw? And you guys said no. No got 62% of the vote. Yes got 38. And there were tons of comments, so thank you guys for participating. I'm going to read some of the ones that stood out the most to me. Starting with Kurt at Raider2402, who said, maybe not right now, but at some point I honestly would love to see Pete Dunne called up to be a mean, nasty heel. I think he could be one of the best. Someone also added to that comment thread and just said he should vacate the title and announce he's going to ruin some people on the main roster, which I thought would be an incredible storyline for an entering Pete Dunne if we were going to see him on the main roster. Mike at MikeUSA365 said Shayna Baszler. I do think day by day Shayna Baszler is more and more ready to debut on the main roster. I think they might hold her back for the whole 4 horsewomen of MMA thing, but I think that is a great call. Simba DA Prodigy at OSO Simba 91, I can read, said Cassius Ohno should have been called up. It's well overdue. Fun fact for those of you who didn't know, even though I'm sure most of you did, Ohno was originally supposed to be the Roman Reigns of the Shield. Fun fact. And when you consider that, yes, it does look like that call-up is well overdue. Another person, Chris Smirkar at CS Smirkar 83 said it should have been Adam Cole, baby. And mostly he just left a gif. And I think that sums up also my thoughts. And the last one that I will read, which I just think is a super valid opinion, is Obi-Wan Sidious. Potentially butchered it, potentially said it correctly, said everyone they call up winds up buried. And I think that recently that's been a pretty true statement. Look at where's Bobby Roode? What's happened to Shinsuke Nakamura? Where's Asuka? I think if you look at those three alone, who should have been some of the most promising call-ups in a long time in NXT, we can say, you're right, maybe now wasn't the time. But it still felt a little weird to not have any call-ups after a Big Four. Maybe we'll see a change after Survivor Series. Maybe we'll see another draft or a shakeup. But I super appreciate your opinions. I love getting to talk to you guys and getting to hear what you think about the polls. So don't forget to go on Twitter, follow us at TagMeImbro, and vote on what you think should happen next for Carmella. And now, without any further ado, we are on to our main event. This week on our main event, we are talking about the Becky-Charlotte feud and the question of could a face Becky-Charlotte feud work out for Hell in a Cell. Joining me is my co-host Tommy Rowe.
Oh God, are we talking about that? I am not prepared at all.
Well, you got 0 seconds to gather your thoughts and come out with a brilliant opinion.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so, I mean, I think it's evident to everyone involved that their original plan, which seems to be a heel Becky Lynch going up against a face champion Charlotte Flair, isn't working.
No, it's not.
Is not happening. And that's because they can't really turn Becky heel because
She's so damn over.
Yeah, and her frustration feels like verified by everyone, like feels validated, like everyone's on side, totally. And I think the fact that people have connected with her when she's like, it's been too long, everyone's like, you're right, means that we're not in a position where we then feel bad for Charlotte, and so we're not like, how dare you? We're like, yeah, put the belt on her, let's give it to her.
They just waited too long, so they kind of like literally booked themselves into a corner, so that the only way they could get out of it is now unsuccessful because the crowd just wants Becky Lynch to be champion.
Yes.
So badly.
So looking at, the one thing I will say is, there is time, I think, to pivot this. Because it's almost like they tried to turn it one way and couldn't. Yeah. So we almost have two directions left that like the audience is still open to believing.
Yeah.
Like we will not suspend our disbelief to believe Becky's a heel, but there is the option of potentially turning Charlotte heel.
True.
Or having a face-face match for this women's championship at Hell in a Cell.
Yes, because Becky Lynch as a heel and Charlotte as a face is not working. The crowd is already turning on Charlotte.
Yes.
So either double turn or just face. Interesting.
So, yes. So I guess I'll start by saying I think that the double turn is a super viable option.
Okay.
And the reason I do think it's a viable option is I don't think it's ever too late to turn Charlotte Flair heel.
Very true.
And I think that is because Charlotte, I think we've seen as someone very similar to AJ in this way, character-wise, which is them being a face or a heel is not based on how they act. Because their character doesn't really change. It's based on almost the situation. Because, like, we love Charlotte and hate her for the same reasons. Like, when we love Charlotte, it's because she's insanely talented. She's, like, a superhuman she is a super feat of athleticism. She is a pioneer and leader in the women's evolution. And as such, has thus become the most decorated female competitor of all time. And in that occurring, we also get to hate her for those things. We get to hate her for having that many opportunities, for them thinking that no one is on her level.
For tying Trish Stratus so quickly.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. To be at 7 championships already, she is, because of timing also, like because of when they retired the Divas Championship and all those, she holds more belts than any woman at this point could have the opportunity to.
Yes, she's held like all 4 possible belts you can
as
hold.
A woman. Like she's tied Trish, and she's got years left in that contract. You know, like and she'll be the first to do so many things on some level.
Yeah, she'll be the first WrestleMania main event. Like
and she's gonna fight Ron. Like so deserved.
Yes.
But we can hate her for all of those things given the day.
Oh,
you know?
It's so easy to.
And so I also think that the way they've kind of played it, they've played Charlotte as someone who. She's not gone into this saying like, oh, we had an agreement or like this or that. She's gone into it saying like, I just thought the best woman was going to win. And the best woman did win. And that's always been her perspective, and like the cocky baby face is always a possibility. But it takes one promo to say like, I thought we were square, and like, fuck you, you're being a bitch to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't do anything wrong. But like, if you want to play it this way, I'll play it this way. Because Charlotte Flair like has the ability fully to take after her dad and be the dirtiest player in the game.
Absolutely.
And we wouldn't not believe it. And so I think that possibility of Becky saying, you get opportunities you don't deserve, and her saying like, so what?
Yeah.
Is a babyface heel feud that we could literally do in 5 minutes on SmackDown next week.
That's very true. I think I think that would be a really interesting way to do it, because the crowd is behind Becky and is taking their frustration out on Charlotte. And that's just because Charlotte is the champion right now. But I do think, just to take the other side of the argument, I do think a face-face match is not only possible, but probably the best way to do it. When we look at Becky Lynch, we've waited how long? Almost 2 years since she first held the SmackDown Women's Championship, the one and only time she has. Lost it to, I believe, Alexa Bliss, and then did nothing for 2.5 years.
Yeah, and pined as we pined for her.
Yeah, and as I said at the onset of the main event, we have been booked into this scenario. Mm-hmm. The crowd wants Becky Lynch to be champion. Heel or face, calling Charlotte a bitch or worse, it doesn't matter. They chanted for Becky during the Carmella wrap-up match. They cheered for her right after it was over, right before it started, during it, and then popped like mad when she came on and beat up Charlotte from behind. I think the safest thing is to have them talk it out, like do their stupid drinking tea, whatever, like let's talk this out, and approach it very pragmatically and be like, I always want to be champion, you are my best competition. Do the iron sharpens iron thing that Charlotte and Sasha had on Raw last year and the year before. That really worked, and they both got massively over. Yeah, Charlotte was sort of the heel in that scenario, but you don't really remember because it was just good competition and you didn't really care who won because they were both faces. And I do think there is the opportunity here, and it might be the only thing they can do to protect Charlotte Flair. Because, hey, it's great that she's over, but when your wrestlers who you write every week are over in the way that you don't want them to be, that's when you're backed into a corner. We've been dealing with this with Roman Reigns for years.
Yes.
He's over in the fact that people react to him, but he's not good over.
I also think that, just kind of building off of that point, which is very like, you don't want the crowd to turn on Charlotte. Charlotte is like such a powerful figure for that company. Like she is their media go-to. She, she's
when
one of the
Rhonda
first women.
Is taken.
Well, yeah, but I even think so. She's homegrown.
Yes, true.
In the most dynastic way like possible. Like she's a homegrown WWE superstar, and like they do use her for tons of media. She is super popular with kids.
ESPN body issue.
Like she is a giant figure for them. If the crowd, sometimes when the crowd turns, that damage can be irreparable. Like we've seen it when Roman does great work. Yeah. When he was arguably doing the like just categorical best work of his career, people were like, well, fuck him because he's Roman. Yeah. And you don't want people in it. Like, you can do that with Roman because you have John Cena and you have The Rock and you have Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. If they turn on Charlotte, like it is, it feels almost like a double standard to say it. And like, I do hate having to compare it that way. But the bottom line is they have not built anyone else enough other than maybe the Bellas, to take that much, or like Rhonda to like take that much media.
Yeah, well, that doesn't have to
take that fight. But I'm just saying that like if they continue on the path that they're on, like it's to agree, but it's to say like in that moment where they're backed into a corner, like I do think one of their priorities needs to be saving Charlotte as a babyface. Like I'm just saying like in that way where it's almost against my point of being like, I think she makes a great heel. Like, I think that's easy. But if their goal was to protect her as a babyface, you need to find a way to protect her. Because in this situation where Becky looks like the heel, they're going to just turn. They're going to totally turn on Charlotte.
Absolutely. The crowd is not going to get behind Becky as a heel. They're not going to turn on Becky. Enough other women have done that to Becky that we all have scar tissue, we all have our calluses, and we will always want Becky Lynch to come out on top. I agree with everything that you've said. Like, I don't think there is a double standard when it comes to like women performers. I just think the company has not had women performers in such a high spot on the card, a high spot in the company, that when you have a breakout star like Charlotte Flair, you gotta keep her in the kind of position where she's a face, and not in like the Alexa Bliss way, where when she's out of character, everyone wants to meet her because she's like, oh my god, I love Alexa Bliss. She needs to be good on TV so she can be a good person in the real world. Face is the way to go. But at the same time, God, I love a double turn.
A double turn, it's because it's so rare that you're like, ooh, a good double turn.
And it's so easy to write, I feel like. It's just, everything you've said about me, Becky, is true. You're worse than me. Done.
What's so nice about this is I feel like the issue with the double turn sometimes, or rather like the art of a double turn almost, is how quickly you can get the audience to swap their feelings for these characters. But you don't need to get them to swap because they decided for you.
They already have. You just gotta pull the trigger on it. And that to me is kind of a general problem with the company at large, which is like, all right, guys, for some reason, the crowd has done this thing. We could lean into it, or we could wait too long. What do we do? They've gotten themselves to this point by not organically going with the crowd. Now is the time to pull the trigger, I think.
Totally. I also think that there's something about a face-to-face feud in this that even if Charlotte is not as over as a face as we'd like, and even if Becky's actions are technically not the most, hardcore baby face, it protects them both going into Evolution.
Very
and
true,
I know
especially
that
if this is the
weird,
feud.
But in that moment of speaking of like how important they are to like the company outside of their feuds, the four horsewomen will always be protected in some light, like as faces, as heels, as performers, as trend setters and groundbreakers.
Except for that little moment where everyone was like, is Bayley good or no?
That was their fault, though.
Oh, that was
Bayley's
their fault.
Great. But their fault.
But they can mess them up.
They can. But and I think that's one of the reasons we're saying it's so important to protect Charlotte.
Yes, absolutely.
It's because they did almost mess up Bayley like irreparably. But is like, they'll always have like Bayley and Sasha will always have that first Iron Man match. Sasha and Charlotte will always have that first Hell in a Cell match. There's probably gonna there are only more for like Carmella will always be the first women's Money in the Bank. I know.
No, James Ellsworth.
I know. But like that'll always be
tripping out of the gate.
It'll always be that moment. Like they'll all have those. Alexa will always be the first person to have won both brand like women's championships.
Definitely.
And Asuka will be the first Rumble winner. Like every woman that I think like truly like matters to that company has a moment. But I think going into Evolution, those four women, beyond anyone else, will be poised to make more moments. And the easiest way that you do that is by keeping all of them as faces so that they all get cheered. And like Bayley and Sasha have been reunited. We haven't heard it. I still believe to win tag team championships and to be cheered. Like Becky and like Charlotte may go up against each other. And if so, like I hope we just say like it's a damn great match. I would not be opposed at all to someone being a heel, but I think the safest thing is to, at least at this moment, keep them both as faces. Because anything can change, but those women, they're never going to allow to get straight up booed. Unless it's a character choice, they will not allow it.
And they shouldn't.
Absolutely. And I think that kind of concludes our discussion. Yeah, I think that was a lot of fun. I think it's very interesting to see how this feud has been planned, especially with the kind of back and forth, we've done polls in the past where people have voted hugely to see a heel turn from Becky. And so to see it kind of attempt to be had and to see the reaction, I think is really interesting. You've heard our thoughts. We want to hear yours. So let us know what you think. Go on Twitter, tweet at us. We want to know what you guys think about Becky, Charlotte, their feud, and who's a heel, who's a babyface, and who should be. So that's been our main event, and now we're gonna wrap up the show that we do every week with our stars of the night.
You just made the list.
Our number 3 star of the night is King Booker. After a, let's say, interesting couple of months as Raw's interim commentator, it did not turn out very well. It's nice to see him in character, not on a pre-show, being what King Booker is at his very best, weirdly English, and very much over in a way that we kind of forget. So it was great to see him celebrate with the New Day and their five-time Champions Club. Number 2 is a shared one between Cesaro and Carl Anderson in what was a great, though it was a bit of a disappointing ending, tag match on SmackDown Live this week. We saw some crazy spots from Cesaro and Carl Anderson. We're getting to the point now where these two are kind of outgrowing their tag team partners, as big ol' Luke Gallows is looking more like Festus nowadays, and Cesaro is just really always has been eclipsing Sheamus for a while. I don't want to see a best of 7 again between them as they break up. I'd like to see just a really nice feud to split them on their own way, but Cesaro and Carl Anderson eclipsing their partners. Ooh. And our number 1 star of the night, Becky Lynch. Her heel turn at SummerSlam was, if nothing, a little predictable. But what has not been predictable is the crowd's and our own complete rejection of a heel Becky Lynch. We don't want her to be booed, so we don't. Simple as that. She is making this SmackDown Live main event for the women a very interesting place to be. Now that Carmella is out of the picture, what is going to happen in the future? You heard what we had to say in our main event, but we want to hear from you because Becky Lynch was our star of the night. Becky, you deserve it. And that will do it for us here at Tag Me In Bro. Be sure to leave us a review of our podcast. It helps us feel good about ourselves. Follow us on Twitter. Remember to listen to the podcast every week because you know it's good. You're listening to it right now. We'll see you next week for some more Raw, some more SmackDown as we get closer and closer to Hell in a Cell. For Taryn, I'm Tommy. Goodbye, universe.